Alright guys, second video for today. I'm going to make 2 today and call it good. Like I said, I might be following a new schedule here, so I'm going to make a post and I want you guys to vote. Obviously by the time you watch this video you'll have voted, so I don't know why I'm saying it here, but I might roll back and do less videos a week, mostly because I wanted to do it to see some data, and I'm not really getting the views that I thought I would get. It could just because my content sucks. I'm not criticizing you guys. Like, I know that my setup isn't ideal. I literally come out and sit on the porch and make these videos, or I do it in my room, but my room is kind of a mess. It's not like a studio or anything. It's just my small little living area. So not the best setup, I understand. So I mean, I could understand why not a lot of people might like this content, purely for aesthetic reasons. But yeah, this video is going to be about feminism yet again. It's kind of a returning theme of this channel is women. But this one came from, I was listening to a podcast, highly recommended by the way. It's kind of hard to find. It's called Our Interesting Times with Tim Kelly. The reason I say it's hard to find is because it used to be on Odyssey, but it doesn't come up there regular now because Odyssey has this thing where they make you manually upload. This is like why my Odyssey channel, I'm kind of inconsistent with it, because the 2 other channels I use other than Odyssey or other than YouTube are BitChute and Odyssey, but you have to manually upload to them now. They don't sync with YouTube, so it's like really annoying to have to like upload 3 videos to 3 different sites. And so I should do it because I would much rather, if I ever got like a following, I would much rather be on those sites than YouTube, but it is what it is. But anyway, the way that you find Our Interesting Times is on like Apple Podcasts. Well, not Apple, sorry. It has to be Android Podcasts. I checked this today. Apple Podcasts, for whatever reason, I can't find them on there, so I have to use my Android phone to watch this. But that's beyond the point. The thing he was talking about was, they were talking about feminism and how like women now are, there's a lot of videos coming out where women are like going out into restaurants and the world, and they're making these videos, right? Kind of like I'm doing now, right? But they're like, where are all the men? Why are there no men asking me out, right? And a lot of these women are younger. They're not even old, but women seem to be generally confused as to the state of this. Or like a lot of men, I think, get this, unless you're married, right? Like men that have got married earlier, like people of my age. A lot of my friends got married in like 2012, 2013. That was when dating like began to become shit, but it wasn't quite shit yet. So they might not fully understand, but a lot of guys understand what's going on here, but the women are absolutely clueless. And Tim Kelly on the Our Interesting Times podcast, he basically said that the video games got better, but the women got worse, and that made me laugh. Obviously video games kind of, they're better now, but they've become woke, but it's still true. It's like men have like distractions now, and men are kind of we're very like goal oriented. So like if there's no woman in front of us, we kind of like focus on something else. And you know, this is also the double-edged sword of where like pornography and OnlyFans and all this stuff fits into for a lot of men. Is, you know, I struggle with it myself, but it basically is that yeah, like if men aren't getting what they want out of women, a lot of men are just choosing like not to deal with them, essentially. You know, I'm in that camp right now. I'm not opposed to the idea of getting married, but I'm getting older, and I've had a lot of struggles with dating. We'll just put it that way. I've always hated the concept of dating. I just, you know, I'm so old school. Like I always like hear those stories of like, oh yeah, we met in this small town, right? If you guys have seen The Notebook, kind of like that. Like they met in a small town and they just were a thing, right? They went on like a date, maybe a date. You'd call it courtship back then. But that's not how it works now. Women, for one, are in the workforce. That's something that he talked about, and I'm experiencing this myself right now in my real life job. And yeah, it's absolutely disastrous what it's done to men and women. Just in subtle ways, like just the ways that you see men act. They act very beta, very soy. Because, you don't want to get reported to HR. It's that simple. In many ways, HR departments, having women in HR departments, like they're your boss de facto. Even if you have a male manager, the HR department is your boss ultimately. And so you can't really avoid that reality nowadays. And so yeah, a lot of guys are just kind of checking out. They're just kind of checking out, and I thought that was just very interesting of him to say it that way. Because that it just reminded me of myself. Yeah, like I did this subconsciously when I was younger, but I just remember I dated a lot when I was in like junior high, end of high school. But I just remember I just sensed, I don't know, I always sensed like something's wrong here, with the world. It wasn't necessarily women at that time. It was just like something's wrong here. That was another thing I always remember. Like they would always tell me to go into debt. People, oh, you need to go into debt. You need to get a credit card. You need to build your credit. And then I fell for the college thing, unfortunately. But yeah, they were doing that. You need to go to school. Like there's student loans available. You can go to school. They'll just give you money. If you don't have a high school degree, you're useless. Like these kind of things, right? That I genuinely believed in like 2007, 2008. I was like, oh shit, I gotta get on this. So anyway, yeah, the point I'm making is like I always sensed something was off, even with the women. Like when I was dating them, nothing felt serious. And I've said in the past, I was raised Mormon. For all the faults of the Mormon faith, one of the things that I've always liked about it is the family aspect. And so I think that was instilled in me very young. I also grew up in a generational home, is what I call it. My grandma and my grandpa were around when I was a child. My grandparents had, on my mom's side, my dad's side, my grandparents, my grandma on my dad's side died when I was like 9 or 10. So I knew her when I was young, but I have very limited memories of her. But my grandparents on my mom's side, I have deep memories. I think I've talked about this in past videos. Like they had a house in Idaho, and we used to go there literally every year for like 25 years of my life. The first 25 years of my life was we go to grandma's every year, and sometimes multiple times a year. Like I'm making this video on the 4th of July, actually. This would have been a time when we would be there right now. And so I grew up in a generational home. My grandparents on my mom's side had 6 children. And so out of those 6 children, they all had children. So there was just tons of kids, tons of legacy, as I call it. I haven't talked about this. Maybe I'll make a separate video about legacy, but I truly saw that at my grandpa's funeral in 2018 when he died. There were so many people that showed up to that funeral in the town that he lived in, the small town in Idaho that he lived in. He was a seminary teacher, and so he... The wildest thing to me was these were people that would have been in like their 50s at the time. These were people that he taught. They were students of his, and they all had families, and their kids had families, right? So it was like crazy. I was like, and they all showed up to his funeral. And so this was what I experienced, right? And I think that this played a big role into why I rejected feminism so quickly. Feminism to me was like a shit test. Like it came in one ear, out the other. I remember the first time I ever heard about feminism was like, the immediate question was like, well, that's not going to work, because if men and women are fighting each other, right? If women are there, I didn't have it this way back then, but essentially the thought was like, if men and women are their own interest groups, then there's no reason for men and women to cooperate, essentially. And that's essentially what's happening, right? This is why the women, to go back to the beginning of what I said in the beginning of the video, this is why the women are confused and they don't know what they're doing, right? Like they're asking the questions like, where are all the men? Well, it's because truthfully, ladies, in modernity, with the luxury belief that is feminism, you don't really need men right now. You probably will need men very soon as things continue to spiral, right? Trump just passed the big beautiful bill, right? 5 trillion more to the debt. So if you guys have not watched my Bitcoin video yet here, random plug, highly recommend you go watch that video. Not financial advice, but yeah, we're in a debt spiral, and the women are still kind of they got everything they wanted. That's another thing about women, about feminism, is it achieved all of its goals, because the logical conclusion of feminism is essentially gay rights and transgenderism. We've now got that. The ultimate goal of it, maybe we've yet to see if we can get, is transhumanism, where that's when we basically don't even need each other at all anymore, and we just use robots to keep our coom pods running, essentially. But yeah, in the modern world, feminism achieved all its goals, and it gave women everything that they fought for in terms of feminism. But a lot of the younger women, the Zoomer women, I feel a lot more bad for them. So even women of my generation, millennials, because we never really got to choose this, right? A lot of people will criticize millennials, like, oh, we bought the propaganda, we just bought into it, which we did, right? I think it was Benjamin Boyce that said this. Shout out to him again. Benjamin Boyce he's awesome. Go subscribe to his channel. He did a recent interview with Jay Burden, who's also another good one to check out, where they talked about this, and essentially women got everything they wanted. And so the women of today, they were kind of born into this, and what they were talking about is how, and I kind of agreed with Jay Burden here. I think Jay Burden's also my age, so I could be getting this wrong. This could have actually been King Pilled, who again is another one to check out. But the gist of it is they were talking about how millennials are the generation that really tried to live up to the boomer ideal, which is, I agree with. Like the Gen X, they were completely nihilistic. They rejected it all, right? This is like how you get the Fight Club movies. They just got pissed and complained about everything the boomers created, like, oh, these office jobs suck, and we hate paying taxes, and blah 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 blah, right? But the millennials, we kind of like took it to heart, like, okay, this is where like the woke stuff really comes from, is like, we're gonna really try to live the civil rights ideal. We're gonna put black people in everything. We're gonna promote women across everywhere. We're gonna just import the third world en masse, right? And millennials really pushed this. They fell for this, you could say. AOC is a perfect example of the millennial generation. And so yeah, they were talking about that, and I was like, yeah, that's a really good point. And millennial women especially have fallen for this, because millennial women are some of the most propagandized feminoids in existence, right? The boomers began this in many ways, but you got to remember that boomers grew up with conservative households. We're talking like the Nixon era, right? They grew up with people that voted for Richard Nixon. They had parents that were, you could just, like, people call Trump and MAGA conservative, right? If we saw the parents of before, I mean, Trump is a Democrat, but he would really look like a Democrat if you compared him to conservatives of the past. So the boomers grew up with this, and the feminism was there, but they kind of had a counterweight. And I've talked about the concept of the yuppie, right? This is where the yuppie comes from, is the boomers, they went and they shot acid, and they partied, and they pretended to care about the feminism and all that when they were young. But then in the 80s, as they got older, they're okay, I'm just going to work this stupid 9-to-5 job. And the boomers were able to have great success with that. I've talked about this in the past. The boomers grew up in the perfect economic situation you could ever imagine. And so everything that they benefited from, future generations will not even come close to benefiting from. I've kind of talked about this, like what we're going to live in now is we're going to live in a form of like neo-feudalism. It's going to, basically people are going to make money, and they're going to have enough money to live, but there's going to be no way to like progress past that basic necessity, if that makes sense. Like in the boomers' day, you could be a janitor and get by, or you could actually like aspire to be like a Wall Street broker or something, and you could actually be like pretty rich. Like my uncle did this actually. My uncle became an accountant, and he making six figures for a boomer was insanely good, and so he was basically rich. And if you do that now, making six figures, that's just like an average wage. So what we're going to have now is we're going to have something like that where everybody makes money, but nobody's going to be rich. Everybody's just going to be kind of like lower middle class, and that's just how it's going to be, for good or bad, right? I don't think money is the goal of everything, but yeah, basically what happened with millennials and feminism is that we almost bought the propaganda more than the boomers bought the propaganda, because we were conscious of it in many ways, but we chose to, fully get behind the Barack Obama agenda. And, we're at the end of history, the Francis Fukuyama, right? We are at the end of history, and we're really going to push that forward, and we're going to realize the boomers' dream. And yeah, that does kind of sum up the millennial generation to a T, right? And then you got the Zoomers coming up, who, their women are feminists too, but the men they're just confused. I don't know what's going to happen, but yeah, they're just going to be the generation where all of this kind of goes tits up, essentially. So yeah, it just got me thinking. This is kind of another rambly video. Again, if you guys like this stuff, I appreciate it. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, comment down below, share the videos, whatever. I'm not really the best at shilling, I should get better at that, but I'm trying to get my channel to 1,000 subs before any of that happens. That was kind of my initial plan, like why I was going to make 5 videos a week. But again, you guys let me know. I'll take the feedback. I'm not against it. There's a lot of comments that I ignore these days because there's just trolls. I just don't really respond to things like that. But if you guys have like legitimate criticism, yeah, I'll take it. But yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking about. So yeah, the problem with modern women is, yeah, there's just better options for men right now. And I hate to say this because I sound like a red pill manosphere guy, but it's like I hate to plug this guy on YouTube because it might get my channel strike, but I'll just say TFM, if you guys know who that is. He's on like Odyssey and BitChute. He's really wrong in a lot of ways, but the one thing he always says is that basically, like, you have to, I don't even know if I can say it on YouTube, but we'll just put it this way: we have to go back to traditional ways of men and women functioning, and that includes women leaving the workforce and voting to be completely like reworked, if we're going to do voting at all. It's really the only way to fix this, because one of the things that feminism really does, like probably one of the most pernicious things that it does, is that it strips men of their dignity. It strips men of their purpose. And when that happens, like, that's how society crumbles, right? And all it does is it allows women to live in this fantasy world where they think that their email job matters, but they don't realize it's like the guys that actually like do the plumbing, right? The guys that actually lay down the fiber optic internet, right? Like, these are the people that are actually making your job possible, and you're just pushing a button on a screen, right? You're literally like a glorified middleman, and that's what feminism has done to women. These jobs don't need to exist, is what I'm getting at. And a lot of people talk about how horrible that would be if labor reduced, but if labor reduced, it would probably just mean that most women would just actually willingly leave the workforce, because most women don't want to be there anyway. And then men would just step up and fill the roles, because that's what men are, right? Men, I don't think women understand this, but men genuinely wake up every day, and I'm struggling with this even more now that I'm getting older is like what the hell am I doing every day? Like, why do I get out of bed? Why do I even care about making money? At my 9 to 5 now, I think about that all the time. It's like, is the stress of this job really just worth making these shekels, right? These currency units what are they going to do for me, right? Other than buy more Bitcoin, like what am I going to do with money as they just continue to inflate it and inflate it and inflate it and never do anything about it, and then just keep importing Indians infinity? Men genuinely have these questions. I don't think a lot of women have these questions. They just kind of wake up and, oh, I'm going to put my makeup on. I'm going to go to work. While I'm at work, I'm going to put my makeup on and paint my nails and, send an email every hour or so, and blah, 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 right? This is modernity. So that's the only way to solve it. I've said it ad nauseum in some of my other videos, but yeah, you just have to, there has to be a change back to tradition, and I think the only way at this point is a collapse. If Trump has shown anything, it's that he's not a serious leader. I'm kind of done giving him the benefit of the doubt. I still like Trump because, it's hard not to like the guy, but I'm kind of not going to talk about it as much. Like, I went on like a 2-week span that you guys probably, where I was talking about, World War III and Iran and Israel, but it's just business as usual in many ways. Now that the big beautiful bill is passed too, this really is where it's going to put the test here, where he's got all this ICE funding now. Like, is he going to really deport? But in the bill it says they're going to deport up to 1 million a year, so that means 4 million in 4 years. Well, Biden let in 20 million, so you've already lost. So in many ways, this government is not going to solve the problem. And I made a whole video about that called the future will be right-wing by necessity. I've made videos about what MAGA truly means. It doesn't mean Trump. It just means that there is a kind of an awakening that's happening, and a lot of that is about feminism, women's true nature in the world, the concept of nationalist ideology, right? Nation states, borders, the questioning of liberalism and libertarianism in general. Like, these are all the things, right? So that's kind of the video, guys. Men we don't have anything to fight for right now other than building, right? Like, I do agree with the right wing. We just have to build. And, I guess in this day, like, you can try to do that with a woman, but it's almost not guaranteed. I don't want to give like advice here, because I've given advice in the past where if you're dating a girl and you're young, you should just marry her like now. But if you're a guy like my age, I don't know. I don't know. Everyone comes with baggage now. I don't know if rushing out and just having a bunch of children with a woman is the right move, because I've seen some of my cousins do that when they're older, and it hasn't really worked out for them. In fact, one of my cousins, his daughter is like in her teenage years now, and she kind of like hates him. So there's really no guarantees with that, but you should, as a man, be building, right? It's one of the reasons I make these videos, because regardless of all the comments that I get, a lot of the terrible comments that say my beard sucks or whatever, I'm trying to build something here with you guys. I want to have like a community here. I want people to watch the channel, to grow the channel, so that I can, it's not even necessarily to be YouTube famous. It's so that I can have some form of independence, and then maybe I can start, helping other people build something, right? Jason Mirachuk talked about that on his channel, Mirachuk Now. Check it out if you haven't. Another great one, where, he's kind of helping people get past the 1,000 subscriber mark. Hopefully he watches my videos someday. Maybe he'll have me on, right? But that's kind of probably what I would do, right? If I got to 2,000-3,000 subscribers and was making a little bit of an income. And I'm at a point in my life where I don't need much to survive. I could quit the 9 to 5 or go back to part-time happily, and start building something. So I'm not trying to like shill too hard here. I'm just saying that that's kind of the goal of a modern man. If you're a Zoomer too, like, start building now. Zoomers are kind of lucky because you're still pretty young. You could set out a plan now of like, how am I going to be like independent, right? How am I going to escape the 9 to 5? The 9 to 5 is pretty much done. Right now I'm in a job, but it's so temporary. I can sense it every day. I am there to milk as much money out of this as I can before it ends. And I'm at a point in my life where I save almost every dollar. I don't spend. So it's either going into Bitcoin, paying for like necessities, you know, like, because I am older, you know, I buy like vitamins and stuff like that and food, but literally everything else is just being socked away. So always be building. Remember that feminism is a shit test, and a lot of men are they're done with it. You know, the women will come around. There's going to be a lot of unfortunate women. Same with the tranny thing. There's going to be a lot of unfortunate cases that we're going to see in the next 10, 20 years. But that doesn't mean that you can't build. That doesn't mean the world's over. Don't fall for the Zionism of like, oh, it's the end of days. It's over, right? Don't fall for the despair. Look death right in the eye. You know, that was what Christ did. Look death right in the eye, defeat it. And yeah, that's kind of my video for today, guys. Comment down below, subscribe if you're new, like the video, appreciate it, and talk to you guys on the next one.